Don't get me distracted. So
Stay on task.
honestly, I started by pulling up the Skyrim ores that you
Okay.
can mine in Skyrim. One of those is corundum.
Mm-hmm.
Corundum in Skyrim is a an ingot. Well, once you smelt it, is an
Yeah.
orange looking ingot. Then I looked up what corundum actually is, and if there is any actual corundum in our world, there is. It's not that at all. Corundum is a transparent crystal that appears naturally hot, unnaturally high in iron and titanium, and is an 8 on the Mohs hardness scale, which is just under diamonds, which are a 9.
Okay.
And you probably more commonly know them as rubies and sapphires because when they appear redder or bluer, that's what corundum is a ruby or a sapphire.
Okay.
And so I thought that's way more fun than just some random orange metal.
Yeah.
And so I turned it into, for me, crystals have always been something that resonates with magic. Like
Oh yeah.
it just hums with the weave. And I thought that would be so dope if I could have two daggers that are made of ruby and are sharpened like saws. And I don't need my fingers to cast anymore because they move with the weave, and I can use the blades to do my somatic components of my spells. I don't need my fingers.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I went with it is just start with a concept or start with something that you already know and build off of it. Like where I work 10-hour shifts of walking, and it's really good thinking time because I
Yeah.
can't put headphones in due to safety reasons where I
Oh.
work. So I have to think the
Yeah.
whole time. And I was stuck on the top 3 posts. I knew Dragon Scales was going to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wanted chitin, but I didn't know what I wanted the other one to be. And I didn't know how I wanted chitin to work either.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the other one I wanted to be. So I started going through a list of monsters in my head. And sometimes that's the best you can do is just start thinking of things, start listing things in your head. And one of them will be, oh, ooze. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. What if you mined an ooze and then compressed and hardened the ooze that was left over after you killed it and turned it into armor or turned it into a weapon? Ooh, a weapon. You can stretch ooze.
Yeah.
Pseudopods, they have a reach of 5 feet. What if I put ooze in the haft of my axe and make it to where I can have a reach on my axe that just slorp hits someone 5 feet away? It's you start with something and then you continue off of it. I think that the armor I could have done a little bit better on because it's pretty much just resistance to the things that oozes have resistance to.
Mm-hmm.
It's really simple. If you need it to be simple, make it simple.
Yeah.
Come up with it on the fly. Just reference something and give them an answer. But cold iron is another really good example of something that I found from the real world because traditionally iron is seen as removing its lucky properties when you heat it up. So if you forge it cold, like horseshoes are forged cold, those are seen as lucky. We also traditionally border graveyards with iron fences because it keeps the spirits in.
Yep.
So why would cold iron specifically, not do some cool things to fey and undead creatures or deal with witches in some special way? It's just stuff like that. Just start with the concept. Start with something either from the real world or not.
Wow. You're an intelligent man. And
I like doing research into real things or not real things and then like bringing them into D&D. I love taking culture from our world and twisting it into ways that work in D&D. Like I think that dwarves, in my opinion, are very Chinese, which I think is very interesting because most people wouldn't think that. They would think more Scottish or Nordic.
Yeah.
But I think that you could easily say that dwarves at some point, if you were to take Toril and move it forward in time to eventually be our modern Earth, which I did. I made a version of our Earth using all D&D races, and I made it for a tabletop RPG called Monster of the Week, which, here, I'll give you a sneak peek on this. We're going to be playing on the Heart of Adventure podcast. There's going to be a mini-series starring Feralborn Trading on it. It's going to be really dope, but I think that you could easily see Dwarven runes as like Chinese scripture, the beginnings of what would eventually become that.
Yeah.
Or the way that they cut their axes are very similar to how ancient Chinese people did that. I mean, make a Dwarven city that is very Asian themed. It's it's whatever. I just really like doing that. I like taking real stuff and making it D&D stuff. I like doing research.
I mean, that's fantastic, and I think that's how you make the coolest stuff. I didn't know that horseshoes were cold forged.
They
That
were. I don't think that they are anymore, but
okay.
that's how they used to be made.
I mean, that's super cool. I don't even know how it works, but that's really cool.
Yeah, cold forging. So basically, you just don't heat it up till it gets red. You just heat it up enough to where
Oh,
it's
okay.
mildly pliable and
Mm,
only move it enough to get it in place. Mostly when you see cold forged items, they look very rough hewn
makes
and
sense.
not so great looking. But yeah, you literally you can't melt down the iron that you take from the earth and then turn it into an ingot and then turn it into a sword. You have to
Yeah.
take the rock that you found from the earth and then mildly heat it up enough to where you can bend it into shape.
Wow. I learned a new thing today.
Yeah, they made manacles for witches during the trials out of cold iron shackles because they thought that it would remove their magic.
Wow. You know what? You just gave me a bunch of inspiration for this Mage Hunter guild that
Oh,
I'm
great!
creating. So thank you.
Absolutely.
That is
Anytime
wow.
that's the point. Is just I don't want to give you something to just plop directly into your world.
Yeah.
I want you can, but I
Yeah.
mean like Frostwood, for example, that I recently did is just trees to the far north.
Yeah.
Where is your far north? Who mines those trees? What
Hmm.
do they look like? Like it should be a stepping stone toward more things and more things and more things, or at least inspiration for maybe not cold iron, but
Hmm.
maybe cold silver. Maybe that
Yeah.
they use silver cold to fight werewolves because they think that it's even more efficient than regular silver.
Yeah.
Who knows? Um, Inspiration is great.
Yeah.
Take it from everywhere.
Exactly.
Pablo Picasso said, good artists create, great artists steal.
Yeah.
That is not a bad thing. It
No.
is
No.
okay.
And as long as you give that some of that that praise and be like, hey, this is kind of
Oh,
where I got my
absolutely.
idea. Don't steal right out. But what I found is most D&D creators will say, hey, take my ideas, make it your own.
Yes.
And that's another thing I love about this community. And just not the small like Instagram community or Twitter, but just everyone in general.
The community at large,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that there is a really, really lovely community out there.
yeah,
And I think that the people that are in it really genuinely enjoy creating stories together. So
yeah.
why wouldn't we help each other make better stories?
Exactly, exactly.